I was previously married and I have a tween daughter, and my current husband, who was also previously married, has a daughter who's 22. The house we currently live in is a 2-bedroomed house, 1 bedroom for me and my husband, while the other one was for my tween daughter. My stepdaughter moved out even before I got married to her dad. We're planning on getting a bigger house and looking for one, but that's what we have right now. As I said, my stepdaughter lives and works on her own. Let's call her Dana. Dana was recently fired from her job and couldn't pay rent for her own place. She asked if she could move in with us, and we obviously agreed. However, problems started when she learned she would have to share a room with her younger sister. She said that she couldn't handle that and wanted her full privacy. I told her I understood the complications of the situation, but I couldn't have my daughter move out of the room because where was she going? We have an extra fold bed that we open at night in the living room just in case someone will sleep over. She said we could have her sleep on that bed. I told her the problem is that she needs her own space. A folding bed in the living room is not a space, especially since we can only open it at night by moving the furniture, also her wardrobe and all that stuff. It's way more complicated than just a sleeping area. She also had a problem because my daughter wouldn't remove her clothes from the wardrobe. I told Dana I could get her an extra wardrobe. Yeah, it will not be as big as the current wardrobe, but I'll ensure it is big enough even if I had to get her 2, not 1. She told me my daughter should be moving her stuff into that wardrobe while she takes the main one. I told her that's not happening. She already has her stuff in there. Overall, she is not compromising at all and is making unreasonable demands. My husband asked me if we should move the folded bed into our room, but I told him we didn't have space for the bed to unfold. He then suggested what Dana said for her to sleep in the living room, and I refused. I told my husband I get it is a ridiculous situation, but I can't have my daughter's life flip upside down just because Dana wants privacy. Sharing a room would be as hard on my daughter as it will be for Dana. So either we all compromise or Dana finds another solution, because I see her as being very selfish, wanting a tween to change so that she can be comfortable. And I'm not differentiating between them, but logically, Dana can search for other options. She's not forced to share a room, but my daughter will be forced to share a room if Dana comes. Am I the idiot for not allowing my stepdaughter to have a bedroom all for herself? Not the idiot. Dana isn't in any position to demand the entire household change to suit her. She should be grateful she has a place to go and isn't living in a car, not trying to push a minor out of her bedroom so she can have her privacy. You get that kind of thing in your home when you pay your way. She got herself fired, which says a lot about her entitlement, and she can either accept the concessions you're very gracefully making for her or live elsewhere. She's 22. Time to get her crap together. Exactly, beggars can't be choosers. She gets fired and immediately cannot afford her rent. She sounds like a dumpster fire. At 22, she can look for a 2-bedroom apartment and a roommate. I suspect Dana has some issues with seeing you and your daughter as family, which is why she's being so unreasonable and thoughtless. Putting a tween girl out on the couch and taking her furniture is just beyond comprehension to me. How she can think that is okay must involve some feelings of superiority over your daughter. Oh, it sounds like it will be a lot of complaining and arguing unless her dad and you firmly tell her you will not support her financially and will not accommodate her. Lay down rules before she moves. I strongly suggest that the adult sleeps in the living room until she can find her own space. A big red flag is that your husband suggests a child sleeps in the living room instead of a bedroom. The literal minimum of parenting is being tested here. Dad sounds like he just doesn't want to deal with his daughter. He'd put out your daughter to avoid the conflict. I, 28 female, recently gave birth to my son. My son has blonde hair, and so did I until I was like 4, and my hair has only gotten darker. My husband has black hair. I have very dark brown hair now, and our entire family has either one of these colors or similar. No one else has reacted negatively towards our son's blonde hair. My mom and stepdad came over once a week, as usual. My stepdad and I don't have a good relationship, nor is it bad, but every time they visited, he comments about my son's hair. He jokes about getting one of those DNA kits for my husband and son, how my husband maybe should check my phone, and asks if I have any hot blonde co-workers I've spent a lot of time with, and more stuff in that way. My husband and I always tell him to stop. He has explained that it's basic genetics since I had blonde hair. We've always been very polite and trying to get him to quit, but neither of us finds it even remotely funny. My mom doesn't say anything. I've talked with her and asked her to make him stop, but she says that she would rather not interfere with our relationship with him and that my husband and I should talk more with him. My husband went to the kitchen to grab some snacks the last time they were over, and my stepdad followed. After a minute, I just heard my husband slam a cabinet and very loudly tell my stepdad to shut the heck up, or else he could get out immediately. Both my mom and I went to see what happened. My husband explained that my stepdad was going on again about me cheating on my husband. My husband lost it this time. I don't know, but I also did just that. I told them to leave and not return until he apologizes. They tried to talk and explain how my stepdad was just joking, but I was stern and wanted them to leave. They eventually did. I texted my mom later that night trying to explain myself, as I felt bad for kicking her out too. She answered back that my stepdad had been feeling really down, that he was disappointed in how I let my husband treat him, and that they both expected some apologies and a lot of work to make up for this. I feel bad and like an idiot. I know I hurt my mom and my stepdad, and that I may have made a harsh decision. My sister told me that she understood my frustration, but I didn't have to react like that. My husband is on my side and told me he's glad they won't come over. If I was an idiot for reacting like this, I would apologize. Wait, what? So you're supposed to not support your spouse's alleged bad behavior, but it's okay if your mom does? Nope, it was not an overreaction. It was a clear boundary that was set and then trespassed. He broke the rule because he thinks he has a right to, or that your rule is meaningless because it doesn't make sense or is stupid and therefore does not apply to him. And it's clear that your mother is either completely oblivious or is an enabler, so I absolutely would hold your mother just as accountable as your stepfather. What are you supposed to say? I'm sorry your husband insulted me gravely multiple times in my own home and I didn't kiss his butt in response. I don't care how disappointed your stepfather is. He brought this on himself. It sounds like they do not love or respect you, your husband, or your child. They're the ones who owe the apology 100%. You are not the idiot. I'm so sorry you're dealing with this. Ding ding ding. It ceased being a joke once OP and husband found it unfunny and told them to stop. And instead of respecting that, they doubled down and kept making unwelcome comments. Now they're getting to the consequences part of screw around and find out. I'd only consider apologizing for not kicking them out and putting them in low contact sooner, given their repeated harassment. It's interesting how OP's mom and stepdad are so concerned about stepdad's feelings, yet they clearly don't respect OP and her husband. They can apologize or deal with the consequences. I, 24 male, have a sister whom I will call Melissa, 37, who is a huge fan of Taylor Swift. We've had an okay relationship most of our lives, but nothing too close due to our age differences. Recently, she's been fighting with her husband, Josh, 35, about how she spends money carelessly. Her spending has been an issue throughout their marriage. Melissa doesn't work, but Josh makes about $200,000 a year. It all came to a head about a week ago when Josh discovered $30,000 missing from their savings account. According to his brother, Josh snooped on Melissa's transaction history and discovered during a supposed trip to see Melissa's friend for a week, she was going to drive down estate and stay with her. Melissa had drawn $30,000 from the savings account and spent it on a week in Brazil to see a Taylor Swift concert and party by herself. She spent every penny of that $30,000 and came back like nothing happened. This was back in November and discovered by Josh last week. They had a massive fight and eventually the police were called and Melissa went to stay in a hotel. Now, the money she had in her account was almost gone and she showed up outside my house begging to be let in. This is how I heard most of this story, except for how Josh found out. I told her tough crap, she needed to figure this out by herself, and I'm not going to support her due to her past spending issues at home. My parents called me and said I was being an idiot for not housing my sister in her time of need, so am I the idiot? Edit, my parents are very poor and live in a one-bedroom house in a different state, so they can most likely not take her in. According to Josh's brother, who I'm friends with, the police were called by neighbors because they heard screaming and Melissa was breaking things. Not the idiot. I can speak for everyone not even making $30,000 a year when I say that blowing that kind of money on a single trip while lying to your husband through your teeth is unconscionable. This is a very typical case of me sowing, me reaping. The absolute nerve of your sister. Your parents can take her in, see how they like it. She spent $30,000 in Brazil in 1 week. Geez, her nose must be sore. Maybe if she'd saved any of that $30,000, she would have been able to afford bus fare, a hotel, etc. She blew $30,000 on a one-woman vacation. When was your last vacation, OP? Do you think taking her in will improve your life in any way? Spoiler, it won't. If she can blow that kind of money on herself, she can figure her crap out. I felt guilty spending $600 to see Adele. I'm letting go of that guilt by reading this. OP, I understand that your parents live in a one-bedroom place, but some families raise multiple children in one-bedroom apartments. Your sister will be fine sleeping on their floor. Better than having nowhere to go, right? Do not let her into your place, not even for a night. Giving her an immediate escape from a situation of her own making will just ensure that she never learns from her mistakes. Plus, she'll just become your financial problem. Just saying. Over Christmas break, I, a nearly adult female, was invited to vacation with my friend Jane, the same age, and her family. Overall, the trip went well. There were 5 of us, and we drove to a city about 2 hours away and stayed in an Airbnb for 5 nights. During the trip, we participated in some activities: rock climbing, horseback riding, and a biking tour. We also went hiking. However, the night we returned, I was surprised to see a Venmo request for $600 from Jane for my portion of the trip. I couldn't imagine the activities being this expensive, so I asked for a cost breakdown. In response, Jane and her mom emailed me a spreadsheet of all costs, which included the trip activities, $40 each, and charges for gas, $50 total, groceries, $60 total, my restaurant meals, $70 total, and what appears to be part of the Airbnb cost, $60 per night. I thought charging me for groceries, gas, and the Airbnb was excessive, so I asked Jane if it would be possible for her mom to take out those costs. My rationale was that they would stay in the Airbnb and travel there regardless of whether I came. I share a bed with Jane, so it's not like I took up significant extra space. I also haven't had a lot of money saved up since I'm still in high school. Jane's mom said I would need to contribute and pay the total price. Here is where I may be the idiot. I decided to be petty and only send $500 as I couldn't justify the costs of gas and groceries. Unfortunately, this has strained my relationship with Jane, and we haven't hung out since. She thinks I'm the idiot for not paying the full amount and questioning her family on costs. She said that I embarrassed her and her mom. Am I the idiot for not paying the full cost of the vacation? Edit: costs were not discussed beforehand. Not the idiot. If you invite one of your children's friends to join you on a vacation, it's kind of expected that you're their guest. You're on your own for spending money, souvenirs, etc., but if you expect the child to pay more than that, that should be made clear from the beginning when the invitation is made. Charging you for gas and the Airbnb, expenses they would have had whether you went or not, is ridiculous and cheap. I would never expect one of my son's friends to reimburse me for gas money, and any time we've invited one of his friends to join us at a baseball game, out to dinner, laser tag or whatever, we've always paid for everything. If their budget was such that they couldn't afford to cover your meals and groceries, that should have been made clear when Jane invited you. This, springing the costs on a teenager after the holiday, makes Jane the idiot. Which teenager has $600 lying around? These people couldn't afford their vacation and invited OP to help pay down the cost. It's not a coincidence the cost was not discussed beforehand, as they didn't want to risk an invitee not accepting. Yeah, they are embarrassed because they should be. If a family invites you on their trip, they are expected to pay for you, or they should have informed you and your parents ahead of time. However, my guess, knowing teenagers, is that the friend is to blame here, not the parents. I'm guessing the friend said, "Can I invite my best friend along?" And the parents said, "Yeah, if she pays away." And the last part of the invitation didn't get passed along. But yeah, costs should always be agreed upon first. I've known my best friends who are a married gay couple since we were in middle school, and I pretty much raised my baby brother after my dad and stepmom died when he was 5 and I was 23. So when my fiancé and I decided to get married, of course I picked them as my groomsmen and my brother as my best man. My fiancé's family was kind of old school, which was okay because they weren't that bad. I guess her parents didn't know until recently that my best friends are a gay couple, or that my little brother is bi. They started making a big stink about them being in their daughter's wedding and letting my brother bring his boyfriend. At first, my fiancé was with me in telling them no and trying to get them to drop it. Recently, they started threatening her about not coming and saying it would be an embarrassment to her family. She's been extremely upset about it, and she started asking me if I could possibly change my mind. I told her no, and if her parents didn't come, it'd still be okay. Even still, she's been getting more frantic about it. We got into a big argument over the weekend, and she goes on about how they could still be there, just not as prominent, saying that my brother is a teen and any regular teenager wouldn't have a +1 anyway. I quickly shut that down, and I yelled at her that I wouldn't exclude my loved ones like that to appease her folks. She yelled at me for being unfair, knowing how close she was with her folks. I told her I'd call off the wedding if she asked again. Since then, it's been awkward and we haven't spoken much. My best friends think if I really want to be with her, maybe I should give a little, but her brother thinks I should get her to really stand up to their parents. Am I the idiot? What happens if you and her have children one day? What if that child is bi, gay or trans? Will she stand up for her children or push them to the side? She is so willing to shut your loved ones out for the sake of her ignorant family. What will happen to your children? These are things I feel you should consider before moving forward with the wedding. You are not the idiot, but that is one wedding that needs to be called off ASAP. You guys are definitely not on the same page. Dude, I know you love her and she loves you, however she is showing you her true colours now that she's willing to put others' ignorance above your feelings and family. What if she doesn't want your children around your best friend and brother due to their orientation because her family views them as dangerous or that they will corrupt your children? I know that sounds outlandish, but it does happen and sounds like something that may happen to you. Please think hard before you get married. Your fiancé has no backbone, and if she can't see that she's putting her parents first and you second, maybe you should put the brakes on.